So we've been talking about on this retreat and all the other retreats before about emptiness body, dharmakaya, and enjoyment body, sambhogakaya. And these are not really, well, we have to know the main feel, the main frequencies, if I use that word, the main feel, the main tone, the main energy of both bodies to understand these bodies. We do this through three basic characteristics. We learn this through doing 13 Pure Land meditations. We learn this through going through the bhumis. We learn this through, when our bhumis open, that's advancement in emptiness meditation, which means advancement in realizing emptiness body or dharmakaya. And then there is this whole world sphere of aliveness, which is all aliveness, compassion, paying attention to the energetic feel of that clear mind is sambhogakaya work, enjoyment body work. But there is something really cool, and it's very obvious when I say this, but there's something really cool about the sambhogakaya. So sambhogakaya, enjoyment body, sambhoga literally means pleasure or enjoyment that is in balance. Sam in balance or even, not lopsided, but in balance, like scales, balanced. And bhoga, pleasure or enjoyment. Sambhogakaya. So sambhogakaya is all these energetic flavors. Joyfulness, kindness. Those two are very close, aren't they? Joyfulness, kindness, goodness, love, compassion. They are all very close to each other. So what is our most basic human expression when we feel these things? We smile. And this is used as an antidote, as medicine, as yogic practice, and can be used. So, we can practice smiling simply by sitting down and, whether you're working with stress or some kind of mental emotional discomfort, whether you're working with traumas, you just put the corners of your mouth smiling gently like a Buddha, and then you feel the energy of the smiling that little by little spreads all around your nervous system and body. That's one way to practice smiling. Yogic smiling, in Master Mindfulness, it's one of the central practices. It's called heart smile. Heart smile. So one way to practice smiling is to just externally, physically start smiling and then feel the energy of it ripple through the rest of the system. But another way would be to flip it around. And this is kind of like a Mahasandhi, Chokchen, Mahamudra, Great Seal perspective, where you first establish the basic state, then recognize it's alive, joyful, full of kindness, goodness, and that automatically makes you smile. So smiling, it's genius. And especially in the context of meditation and yoga, because it's so transformative. And it's so basic. because it's so basic is why it can be such a profound transformatory practice. I learned smiling first as a practice that you in the context of cultivation, yoga meditation, from a Taoist teacher. And I know that it's quite widely practiced in Taoism. But like I mentioned, if you check if you check Shakyamuni Buddha statues, he's always gently smiling. Just gentle. Doesn't have to be wide, Pepsodent smile, but gently. And also other Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, masters, Mahasiddhas are depicted with a gentle smile. So what I was saying is that I've been thinking I have to Carl Amrita Simha is teaching Rainbow Body Yoga Light in 2 weeks from now, so I have to update the material until then. But for years I've meant to put that little part in there, and I have taught it every now and then. I've pointed it out, but I usually do it through the Mahasandhi Mahamudra perspective, through recognizing the bodies that naturally, automatically should make you smile. And that's actually another good way to check your practice, that, if you think that you're recognizing the basic state, your natural state, but smiling doesn't increase in your life, then something is off. Then you might only be recognizing the emptiness body. So it's a good way to check if you have the 3 basic characteristics down. If your smiling increases and your clarity of your mind, sobriety increases, and you feel I've been watching a few Tai Chi and Qigong videos the past few days. They speak of sinking of Qi, sinking of energy, which means relaxing downwards. Relaxing physically downwards so that you're better aligned with the pull of gravity physically, but also that your energy goes down instead of going up. So, when we speak of groundedness as the third basic characteristics of the natural state, it really does make you down to earth. If the recognition is correct, it really grounds you, balances you, and calms you down, together with smiling increasing. But don't be pressured about this. If I'm not saying that you should force yourself to smile, and don't be shameful if you don't. Don't at all feel guilt if you don't. Well, I'm not really smiling, so I'm such an awful bad practitioner. I bet some of you already did that to yourself. So don't get entangled with your nonsense. So we're going to continue practicing today, and one of the topics, like I spoke about on Friday evening, is that we have to be really sharp. We have to be really like hawks, not cynical, but really sharp, and observe and be mindful what we think, what seeds we plant, and which seeds we cultivate, which seeds we give water to. Use the 2 modes, selfless and self-based. Learn to know the energy of both. How is the selfless mode like? How does it feel like? What is the energy of it? Like we were speaking of, I was speaking of the groundedness 2 days ago, that when we are in samsaric state of mind, it's like a flag in the wind. It goes, it flutters, it goes here and there according to where wind blows. Right? But if you recognize your true self, solid. It's sort of like, not that you become solid and stay solid, abide in a solid way, but the whole question of being shaky, it's a stops to be an issue, becomes a non-issue. So learn the feel of it. There's actually a whole bunch of things that become non-issues when we recognize. When we are in the recognition of the basic state, we are not bothered about the usual existential questions and doubts and insecurities. Traumatic habits, are we? And then on the other hand, so I'm speaking about detecting our samsaric mind and samsaric thought habits. And I was speaking about, being really careful and really honest, really sincere, using honesty and sincerity, that, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to myself. And I'm not gonna try to lie and in that sense mislead others. If you have this kind of calibration, then practice will be much easier than without that calibration. Actually, I would say that, if you don't watch your mind in an ethical way, it won't take long until some troubles, some real delusions come. And of course, the history of Dharma, I think there has always been such people who, think they are on the path, but have long ago left it because of lack of ethics. So samsaric mind, although self-based, selfish habits, patterns, programs, in this life we have accumulated them for depending how long you've lived. But there are also the past lives. So that kind of, what is that word? It's kind of, I was almost saying that we've been trained, our system is perfectly trained to fool ourselves. And there's a purpose for that. When you feel that it feels so off and it feels so unnatural, and then persons start asking that, well, isn't there something more to life than this crap that I'm experiencing on a daily basis? That's how the question arises. Sooner or later, usually later, that isn't there something more? Isn't there something else? Isn't there something truly satisfactory than just momentarily removing that sense of insufficiency and discontent by getting drunk or getting high, or getting laid, or eating chocolate cake, or what have you, going paragliding. So that brings people to Dharma. That's how it happens. But what I was saying is that we need to be watchful. So by all means, the path isn't easy. It will never be easy to anybody. There's been a couple of people in our Sangha who have purified all their bhumis, to whom it looked like, okay, that looks very easy, like journey through the bhumis. But before it was finished, there were some very difficult obstacles, very difficult for themselves to see. Right? One's teacher, somebody outside, one's teacher, other Sangha members will probably more easily see our own faults and mistakes and misinterpretations than we do ourselves. And that's what makes it tricky. That's one of the factors that makes it tricky. Because we are so, embedded, we are so inside our own habit patterns that we don't even see when it happens. But it is possible to see if we establish the basic state where there are none of those habit patterns. Then of course, it's sort of like there becomes distance, and we can little by little see those habit patterns in action as objects as they happen. And then we have a chance to interrupt those habit patterns. And interrupting the habit patterns, samsara means this, going round and round in samsaric wonder wheel. But you interrupt. Wait a second. Stop doing that. And not that we punish ourselves, I shouldn't think of sex, I shouldn't think of getting high, I shouldn't do this or that. It's not like that. But to become aware, interrupting the samsaric wheel by becoming aware. All right. So, to come back to the original topic of this weekend, ethics and action. Action on 3 levels. Let's continue with practice. And I think we will start by the usual preparations, recognizing the 3 basic characteristics and relaxing the body, generating bodhicitta, and then go into ethics and finding out how ethics originate from the basic state itself.